Okay, now we'll pick up here where we left off last tutorial. This little exercise here is to practice placing dimensions so that they're clear and readable. Okay, if you'll notice in your textbook, you've got this exact same diagram. You can take a look at it. I remember we talked about it in one of the classes previously. And consider, okay, look for, okay, the incorrectly dimensioned, the dimensions that are placed incorrectly. Okay, it says here that there are 5 types. All right. Okay, now some of these dimensions are improperly placed. That doesn't mean that the dimensions are showing the incorrect values. It just means that they are not properly spaced. Now, do you remember a couple of the requirements that we talked about previously? Notice the direction. See, this dimension here cannot easily be read from the bottom of the drawing. Here you've got a line going right through this dimension. These dimensions are a lot closer together space-wise than these other dimensions. And then these 2 dimensions are actually inside the part. Okay, so we're going to click on that and it shows us. Okay, the text should be horizontal and not cross other objects. The diameter or the dimension of the hole is missing. Okay, and do not dimension inside the part, and the thing should be uniformly spaced, and there's no visible gap between the extension line and the object. Okay, so let's go back and see, what did it say to do? Click on the figure. Well, we already did that. All right. Uh-oh. Did we already do this one? Yep. Okay. Well. Now then, spacing and readability. Dimensions should be easy to read, and they should minimize the possibility for conflicting interpretations. What that means is stay away from duplicate dimensions. Dimension lines should not cross extension lines or other dimension lines. Well, you can read that the same as I can. Leader line should be straight, not curved, and point to the center of an arc of a circle. And here's where we were talking about earlier. The angle should be between 30 and 60 degrees. Okay, and we'll see an error on one of the drawings we're going to look at, and that's going to be one of the errors, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, now here we're going to practice placing dimensions so that they're clear and readable. Once again, it's not that any of these dimensions give incorrect values. Okay, it's just that we need to practice on placing the dimensions so that they're clear, readable, and do not set us up for conflicting information so that we can misinterpret. All right. So you can see how clear and concise all these are. The spacing is uniform. There's no values actually inside the object lines of the parts. But there are some errors. The leader line should point to the center of the circle, not the outer edge. The center line should not connect between views. And here we have a dimension line actually intersecting a extension line. And here the dimension should be between the dimension lines, not up above it. And so you kind of get the idea. It's not that any of these values are incorrect. It's just they're spaced in kind of a hodgepodge way so that they don't conform to standards, and consequently they're not clear and not as readable as they otherwise could be. Dimensions should be easy to read, minimize the possibility of conflicting interpretations. Very key phrase. Dimensions should not be duplicated. or the same information given in two different ways. Okay, once is enough. If a reference dimension is used, the size value is placed within parentheses. All right, we're going to explain what that means in a little bit better detail here when we get to the next frame. Okay, now here we're going to identify duplicate dimensions and recognize which dimensions to keep. Now once again, here you have an orthographic projection, okay, that shows the shape of an object, this being the front, this being the right, this being the top. But one of these views is not really necessary. Hint, it's going to be the top, because when we look for duplicate dimensions, we will notice the 200 linear horizontal dimension is duplicated here on the front, right here. Ditto with the 60 right here, and also this 40 vertical dimension is duplicated here on the right side. So we're going to click on that, and sure enough, okay, those dimensions given are duplicates of one another. Now, okay, which one of these dimensions that are highlighted should be deleted? Well, it should be the 40. All right, let's see what happens when we go to the next frame. Uh-oh. Okay, I'm supposed to keep clicking on the figure instead of advancing to the next frame. Well, the 40 millimeter dimension in the top can be eliminated because that's not where the feature is best to find. And here we have the same situation here. Let's click on it again. See, the 60 and the 200 should both be eliminated because they don't dimension the features where they are shown the best. And are there any down here that's duplicated? Well, it just so happens, yes, there are. There's the 100. It should be eliminated as shown because it does not dimension the feature where it is shown the best. Now here you have the view that is correctly dimensioned. It does not mean that this top view is not necessary, but it does show us that this top view does not need to be dimensioned. Dimension placement. Okay, they should be placed in such a way as to enhance the communication of your design. Okay, should be grouped whenever possible, should be placed between views unless clearness is promoted by placing some outside. Dimensions should be attached to the view where the shape is shown best, and I realize that's kind of ambiguous there in what I think may be best. Another individual may think something different is best, but be that as it may, we just have to live with that. And do not dimension hidden lines. Okay, once again, this worksheet is in your textbook. We're going to consider improperly dimensioned objects. That does not mean that the values are incorrect or not proper. It means their placement, okay, may or may not be correct or proper. It says there are 6 types of dimensioning mistakes. List them and then dimension the object correctly. And we're going to solve this by clicking on here, and all at once you get the solution. The 60 millimeters should be between the top and the front view. Okay, not what that means is it should be down here, okay, between the top and the front view, not up here at the top all by itself, kind of a little orphan, okay. The leader should float up if possible. Remember, I told you that the leaders should never, unless there's just absolutely no other way to do it, point down. It needs to point up, okay, and also it should point to the center of the hole, not the outer edge. Do not dimension hidden lines. Just something that we don't do. This 25 millimeter here, dimension, this should be dimensioned where the figure is shown best. So this should be moved, and the 10 millimeter dimension should also be moved to the front. Okay. Group the 30 millimeter dimension with the 15 millimeter dimension, and that's talking about these two dimensions here should be grouped together. Okay, so you kind of get the idea there. Okay, now here this is the correct way for this object to be dimensioned, with the exception here. This 20 millimeter diameter should show the should point to the center. Okay, I've got an exception with that. There may be open to opinion there, but not mine. It should show to the point to the center, not to the edge. You see here we've got the right view, but there's no dimensions there. That's fine, okay, to show it, to clarify, but to avoid duplicating dimensions, you may have a view in an orthographic projection with no dimensions at all, and that'll be just fine.